I'm John Langler. We are talking to you live from the Clark County Government Center. Behind us you can see the stage, which is now actually lit up, which looks very nice here in the right before the morning dawn. It is behind us where the sunrise ceremony will take place in honor of those who lost their lives and those who survived as well during the 1 October shooting 1 year ago this evening. I'm John Langler. We're talking about the suspicious packages and pipe bombs. More have been uncovered this morning. Yesterday, you'll remember that devices were sent to several top Democrats, including former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, as well as CNN. You're looking live in Delaware. A suspicious package addressed to former Vice President Joe Biden was just found. Again, this is a live look in Delaware. Good day. 5 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Thanks for waking up with us here on Good Day. I'm John Langler.
I'm Kirsten Joyce. You almost said Friday because it feels like a Friday.
It does feel like a Friday. We're in a good mood today.
We are.
We're in a good mood. It's a fun Tuesday. It's hot as heck outside.
It is. I look huge. Look at that shot. I look like I'm 2 times your size.
How was that? Is that better?
$15. What a deal, John.
So you go down to Grandma's house for Thanksgiving dinner. You're ready to go and this and that, and you go, and instead of a turkey on the plate, it's just like a sleeve of Pringles all the way around. Do you think that would do the trick? I feel like there'd be a little bit of a letdown.
90s. Come on, you're going to handle the excessive heat warning. Come on in, get in there. Go ahead. Go for it. This is the extreme heat that we're looking at. See, highs near 90 degrees up in the mountains. That's a heat advisory.
Half past the hour. Hopefully you're starting your porridge on this fine Tuesday. I'm Kirsten Joyce.
I'm John Langler. I was making a Goldilocks reference.
I like it. I haven't had porridge in years.
Do people still eat porridge?
I'm sure they do.
I think there should be a cool, new, hip restaurant in town that'll serve porridge. Somewhere like tucked away somewhere, like some casino on the strip. You watch.
Yeah.
We have started something on Good Day. The return.
Sherry, some porridge, a porridge place.
Las Vegas, a porridge place.
He's not buying it.
There is no porridge place. There will never be a porridge place.
The ice where the Vegas Golden Knights will soon be practicing. That went in, by the way. Father and son, it's Brandon and Beck Johnson. Beck, this is your 8th birthday?
Yes.
What do you think of the Golden Knights?
I can't even believe they made it to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that William Karlsson goal in the last home game was a pretty darn good punctuation on the regular season. I think David Perron's jaw is still on the ground from when we were watching that up in the press box. Gary Lawless is here with the Vegas Golden Knights Insider to talk a little bit about the game that we're going to see. Kings, Golden Knights, Game 1. First of all, let's talk about the regular season, though. Such a remarkable year. What are some of the standouts to you, having seen all the games? Well, so far I've ordered up a nice, pleasant interview, fresh, hot off the grill. There's some cooking going on behind us here. We're at Eat here in downtown Las Vegas, right off of Carson, and Chef Natalie Young owns the place. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, live, this is 8 News Now at noon.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm John Langler. We start with a school bus crash near Overton. We should point out no children were on board that bus, but Nevada Highway Patrol says one person was hurt. Here are some pictures that Nevada Highway Patrol sent us of the crash. Investigators say a van veered into oncoming traffic and hit the bus head-on, violent enough to start a fire. The driver of the van was taken to the hospital. The bus driver was not seriously hurt. A bunch of bull-oney. This morning, a belligerent bull baffled a bevy of men and women in blue by bolting beyond its borders. It was first spotted in a neighborhood near Lorenzi Park and then scampered miles away. 8 News Now reporter Nia Wong is here with a bizarre story. Nia, thank you very much. Just into our newsroom, a serious situation taking place right now outside of Miami, Florida. Police and SWAT teams at the scene of a high school where we believe there has been a shooting. News helicopters show that multiple people are being treated right now for injuries. This is at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, again, just outside Miami. These are live pictures from that area right now of law enforcement moving around. We don't understand yet what kind of injuries have been suffered here or if the shooter is still on the scene. We'll keep an eye on things there outside of Miami and bring you the latest as soon as we get it. Back here in Las Vegas, a former Metro police officer was arraigned in district court today for molesting a child for nearly 10 years. Investigators say Brett Teal repeatedly molested a girl between 2005 and 2017. He was arrested last week after a 10-hour standoff. Teal faces more than a dozen charges. This afternoon, we could learn the fate of a man charged with vandalizing Devil's Hole. Edgar Reyes is expected to be sentenced today. A co-defendant will be sentenced tomorrow. The pair took plea deals, admitting to damaging government property and violating the Endangered Species Act. A rare pupfish was killed in the incident, which, as you see, was caught on surveillance video. A third defendant, Trenton Sargent, did not take a plea deal. His trial is set for March 26th. Thank you for joining us. I'm John Langler. We begin with breaking news. Brothel owner and Assembly candidate Dennis Hoff has died. His campaign manager tells 8 News Now he passed away at his Love Ranch South brothel. Conservative activist Chuck Muth first announced the death this morning. We are still waiting, though, for confirmation from Nye County officials. Hoff just celebrated his 72nd birthday. He's, of course, well known for his brothels, his TV show Cat House on HBO, and his battles with Nye County officials. He was also the Republican candidate for Assembly District 36. His brothel empire started with his purchase of the Moonlight Bunny Ranch in 1992. He was well known for proposing that brothels be taxed by the state as well. Nye County officials recently shut down his Love Ranch South brothel. It was reopened, though, after a win in court. This is a big story here, certainly in southern Nevada. Steve Sebelius is here to talk a little bit about not only what this means, losing Dennis Hoff, but also there's a political ramifications to this as well.
For a special edition of 8 News Now here on October 1st. Vegas Strong has become that catchphrase of resiliency and unity since the shooting. But is the strength of being Vegas Strong actually measurable?
Yeah, is it more than something we just say? Is it actually something clinical? We met a UNLV professor who was looking into that very issue.
October 2nd, 2017. The tragedy of the night before was still raw, still being processed. Everyone and everywhere seemed to hurt. Stephen Benning wasn't sure what to do. The UNLV professor's field is psychology. It was there, in research. He felt a difference could be made. Just weeks after 1 October, Professor Benning typed up this questionnaire.
So this is just a way to understand how people reacted to the traumatic stress of the Route 91 shooting, who they were with, how they felt, what's missing from what they understand.
A study to gauge the immediate psychological effects of the tragedy.
We didn't want people to feel like they had to tell us anything.
Today, a little more than 100 people are taking part in the study. 35 were at the Route 91 festival. 1 year after the shooting, Professor Benning says the results are already intriguing. He created this series of charts animating the levels of trauma. The dotted line shows normal stress after a traumatic event. In dark blue, you see trauma felt by members of the community. In red, those who survived the shooting. Over time, you see how the levels change. 6 months afterwards, the community returns to relative normalcy, but for survivors.
Over half of the people at the festival would qualify for a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress.
Despite the trauma, there is one other major theme Professor Benning has found unique to Las Vegas.
The thing that I think our study is really driving home is that people are resilient.
Benning says the study actually shows a spike in gratitude, in strength.
There was unity to their experiences in a way that I think the field wouldn't have expected. We are a community. We are able to come together and build ourselves up after experiencing a grievous wound.
It's far from clinical, though the questions are based on established science, but it is an indicator of how Las Vegas absorbed the tragedy, how it moved on, and how other cities might be able to do the same.
There was this strong sense of community, of caring, of pulling together that I don't think people expected Las Vegas to show. And so I believe that we showed what Vegas Strong really means.
8 News Now, good day.
6:21 right now. 2 years ago, Andrew Thurgood was sent to prison. He was sentenced in Clark County to serve 3 years for driving a stolen car. After just a few months behind bars, though, Thurgood was murdered. Today, there are still no suspects, no arrests, and for Thurgood's father, no closure. Now, the case is at the center of a federal lawsuit with serious claims against Nevada's Department of Corrections. The story now in an 8 News Now exclusive.
Andrew was born here in Las Vegas, and he was your typical kid growing up.
They are glimpses.
Okay, these are just several pictures throughout his life.
proof of Andrew Thurgood's life. From childhood to adulthood, his father Marty has them all, right to the very end.
Last fall, I have a picture of him at the funeral home.
That's your son after he was murdered?
This is after he was murdered at the funeral home. It'd be the last time I ever seen him.
Marty asked us not to use his last name. He says his son was a typical Vegas kid.
Proud to be his father?
Yeah, he was charming.
Who might have gone astray.
He wasn't a saint, but he didn't deserve what happened to him.
In 2015, Thurgood was sentenced to 36 months behind bars for driving a stolen car. He was sent to the High Desert State Prison north of Las Vegas. Marty remembers visiting his son and one of the last conversations they had.
When he first got into the prison, there was several people beating up an older guy, and he kind of stuck up for the guy, and I think that was towards the gang, and that's kind of how their conflict started.
Marty says his son was in trouble with the Aryan Warriors prison gang, which Thurgood used to belong to. Thurgood allegedly refused to give up an old nickname, and soon Marty believes the gang got retribution.
He knew that they were after him then.
When you say they?
The gang that's in the prison.
8 News Now obtained Thurgood's autopsy report from Clark County. February 1st, 2016, just before 2 in the afternoon. Prison video shows Thurgood walking into a cell with 2 other inmates. 6 minutes later, the door opens. The inmates drag out Thurgood's body. Quote, they drop him on the ground, high-five each other, and tell the guards. An hour later, Thurgood was dead. He'd been stabbed and beaten. He was 26 years old.
The guards in this gang cooperated to have him murdered, to put him in a cell where he didn't belong.
No one has been charged.
It's been over 2 years. They know the 2 assailants that murdered him, and they still haven't been charged with murder. They haven't been charged with anything.
Marty's claims are part of a federal lawsuit filed last month against Nevada's Department of Corrections, 2 of its officers, and 2 inmates. Broadly, it alleges prison staff and 2 Aryan Warriors leaders conspired to lure Thurgood into an area he should not have been in and let him be murdered. The lawsuit alleges it's part of an unholy alliance officers and inmates have at High Desert to keep relative peace and, in some cases, impose justice.
And I think the public should know what's really going on in the prison system.
What is really going on in the prison system?
Corruption.
We've been looking into this case since it was filed back in April, and at that time, both inmates that Marty claims killed his son were still behind bars. But that's no longer the case. The Department of Corrections says while one of those inmates is still behind bars, the other one has been released, and no charges have been filed. The Aryan Warriors are notorious within Nevada's prison system. 10 years ago, 14 members were indicted as part of a federal racketeering case, alleging corruption between the prison gang and the state's prison system. Nevada's DOC has gone to great lengths to clean up its act. New leadership was put in place a few years ago, though observers say the organization is still decades behind other states in prison reform.
It's part of my life now.
As for the murder of Thurgood, the DOC says it remains unsolved. The department would also not answer any questions on the case, except to say it's still under investigation. Marty demands justice.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, my son's dead. I have nothing else to go on. People should know this.
Late last week, the Department of Corrections finally responded to our requests for comment. A spokesperson said staff changes have led to the delay in charges being filed with the Attorney General's office. The spokesperson also said she was unaware one of the inmates involved had been released.